The next factor we're going to look at is your movement choices. So if you're anything like me, you loathe going to the gym. When I was younger, it was a completely different story. I could go to gym twice a day. But now I have neither the time nor the inclination to get into my car, sit in traffic, go to the gym, arrive at the gym, wait in queue for the treadmill or for the bicycle, do my 30 minutes, then get back in the car, sit in traffic, get home, shower, and then start making dinner. Who has time for that? For me, there were just too many obstacles in the way that stopped me from becoming a regular gym goer. And so what worked for me is identifying, well, how can I make exercise more accessible without all of those obstacles? And what I decided to do was I got myself a small step machine that I could pack away underneath my desk, and I got myself some small dumbbells, some hand weights. And when I started out on this, I started with just 15 minutes at a time. And I probably, to be honest, got on the step machine maybe 2 or 3 times, and then it stayed underneath my desk for about 6 months. But it kept staring at me, and it wouldn't let me go. So eventually, about 6 months later, I got the machine out again, and again I thought, okay, well, how can I make this more accessible? How can I eliminate even more obstacles? And the routine that I've got in place now is that I wake up, I get out of bed, I'm still in my pajamas, I have got my cup of tea, I get the step machine out, I get my hand weights, I plug in my earphones to listen to my podcast or my audiobooks, and I do 30 minutes on the step machine, and I do that probably 4 times a week depending on my schedule. Now, because I'm a business owner, I knew that if I couldn't build in exercise into my daily routine, making it as easy as possible, as accessible as possible, and getting it done as quickly as possible, it was never going to happen. So the 3 things that I have found that have helped me keep the habit in place is this. Number 1 is my podcasts and my audiobooks. I will not do exercise, I will not do my 30 minutes on my step machine if I don't have a podcast or an audiobook to listen to. And what I find is that I'm more focused on what I'm listening to and what I'm learning than I am on the physical movement of doing the step machine. The second thing I had a mind shift change around is the embracing the sweat. Now, I don't know if this is just me, but I used to despise sweating. And so whenever I started to do exercise and I began sweating, I would essentially just stop what I was doing because I didn't want to get all icky and sweaty and smelly. Now, I use my sweat, I wear my sweat as a badge of honor. So start to embrace the sweat, and the more you sweat, the more you realize what good you are doing for your body. So I'm like, yeah, I'm sweaty, I'm stinky, it's awesome. I've done so much goodness for my body right now. And the third thing that I do to make sure that I keep going with my daily routine of 30 minutes on the step machine is that even on those days, after all of these months of keeping up with this habit, even on those days when I don't feel like doing it, I do it anyway. And what I tell myself when I'm, doing this internal battle in my mind as to do I do it, don't I do it, what I tell myself is that even if I do the minimum amount of effort on the step machine that morning, so maybe I won't push very hard, I won't even use the weights, and maybe I don't even sweat very much. But what I tell myself is that some movement is better than no movement at all. And invariably, when I have that conversation in my head and I get the step machine out and I get going and I plug in my podcast and my audiobook, invariably I eventually get into it. And so if it weren't for that idea that some movement is better than no movement, and if it weren't for my podcasts, I would have probably given up already. So I want you to give that a try. Of course, there are other forms of movement. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy a step machine. You could get a DVD and do some aerobics at home. Or what I enjoy doing, and what we've recently discovered, my husband and I, is that there are a myriad of hiking trails and nature trails in our area. So on a weekly basis, we are going out into nature and we are doing a 1.5 to 2 hour walk, and that is great exercise. And additional benefits to that is that not only are we getting our exercise done, we're spending time together, which is always a good thing. We are also then each other's accountability partner to make sure that it gets done. And ultimately, we're out in nature, which is just always rewarding for both mind, body, and soul. And so if you can, find alternative ways of getting your body moving. Maybe you need to join a dance class, or maybe you need to learn to surf. Any kind of movement that gets your body going that isn't sat behind a desk is going to be good. And if you can do it with a buddy or your husband, then even better. The most important thing to remember is to shift your focus from the results, i.e. your weight loss, shifting from that to the habit that you're forming. And so that this habit becomes part of who you are, it becomes part of your lifestyle. And you'll find that when you shift that focus to the habit and the lifestyle, everything else just falls into place.